Okay, well, here is Joe trying out this thing that he's very, very unsure of. But hey, he's got an hour to fill. So let's fill it with something. A few things that you might want to know before you get started with this is that there are most likely going to be, over the many times that I do this, some things that cause me to get up and go away from the camera. I do not wish to stop filming during that time unless it's a very, very long break, in which case I'll probably just start a new video, which will be heartbreaking, but I really am trying to only film when I feel like I really have a solid hour where I can do this and it won't be interrupted to the point that I gotta start over. One of the things that may cause me to go away from the camera, the dog. I got a really yappy Pomeranian, and he may be feeling as though he needs to speak his mind a little bit, like everybody in the world these days. When he does that, I'm gonna have to go out and quiet him down. I'll probably just turn off the microphone in those instances, but everything should be okay. So what am I going to talk about today? What am I going to talk about today? Well, I want to talk about my face, because I have a very weird relationship with my face. Because my face is weird, and I don't mean weird inherently in a derogatory way. I've thought of it that way in the past, but my face is just composed in a strange way, and I feel like by maybe just talking about it now, when I don't have a lot of people watching, when I have like this big open space and I don't have to feel like I'm articulating my points great, I can cover everything regarding my relationship with my physical appearance. Not even my physical appearance overall, it really is just my face. So my face has some features that are kind of strange. You can't tell when my hair is this bushy, but my ears are rather large. When I have my hair fully shaved, they really pop out. I used to be able to do this like cute like monkey face. I probably got a picture somewhere on my phone. My nose is rather wide and it's rather smushed. My whole face in general just kind of slopes downward. Gravity has really taken its toll on my face. It goes down. It's a downward sloping face. You could do some ski trials down my face. My face is also very asymmetrical, and that's one of those things that you really don't notice all that much unless you're looking for it, but then once you hear it, you might not be able to unsee it. Like, my whole body's asymmetrical, and I'll get into why. My whole body's just kind of lopsided, and I think that has a lot of reasons to do with my face is lopsided. I'm not a master of growth, anatomy, science, whatever the heck, but that's my theory, is that my face is off kilter because my whole body is off kilter. But you'll notice this eye is quite a bit lower than this eye. It's kind of tucked in. It kind of goes into my skull a little bit more. The left side of my face is a bit more prominent. Now if you look at my jawline, it goes like pretty jagged over here, and it kind of just curves over here. So this whole face side of the face is kind of just melting. My nose, yeah, I mean, I mentioned before it's rather wide. I'm pretty sure I have a deviated septum, which has caused me some trouble with like headaches and nosebleeds over the past couple years. And just in general, I just haven't liked my face very much since, I guess, probably the age of 18. I developed this really weird habit where I started taking really compulsive selfies of myself, and I don't do that anymore. So I guess in that way I've sort of grown out of it. But yeah, from the age of 18 to probably 21, just every single day barraging myself with selfies, trying to find pictures of myself when I wasn't big professional studios taking them, just my selfie. I actually liked them. I just wanted some pictures of myself that I liked, but I also went into it with this pessimism that I was going to fail, Like, I take these pictures knowing that I'm not going to like them, and I'm just gonna scoff at all the things that are wrong. And of course, whenever I'm taking all these pictures to sort of, whenever I'm taking all these pictures to make myself feel bad about my appearance, of course, the lighting is really bad. I'm getting really bad angles where I'm giving myself all manner of chins. Like, I'm not doing myself any favors with the photography, which is a lot of what, I mean, even beautiful people, if you take pictures at bad angles, they're not going to look good. If you take pictures with bad lighting, they're not going to look good. It's tempting to think, when you think of yourself as ugly and not on that level, not as good as those people, that, well, they're just gorgeous all the time. I mean, even if their baseline of attractiveness is higher than yours, they're not. Nobody's a glamour model 24/7. It just doesn't work like that. Another thing about my face is that because the eyes are lopsided, it's really, I think I might have a tiny bit of strabismus, but it looks a lot more exaggerated. It looks like, again, you might not have noticed this before, but you won't be able to unsee it now. It looks like this eye is looking farther off in this direction, whereas this one is looking straight forward. And it's just because of the actual placement of my eyes. And because of that, I actually do have a tiny bit of lack of focus in this eye, and so I actually have prescription glasses that I'm just laughing at myself for acting out glasses. I actually have prescription glasses where strictly this lens is catered to this eye, and this one's just a straight frame. I don't know the science of the terminology for glasses. I don't know science, period. I'm probably going to bring that up a lot in my vlogs. I am bad at science. Ooh, that could be a whole topic for another hour, is my relationship with science classes. So yeah, I have glasses specifically for this eye, I think because of the shape of my eyeball, because of my skull development. So I said I was going to talk about my skull development. Why is my face like this? Well, part of it's genetics. I mean, my family in general kind of has not as prominent of jaws. We have really strong muscle definition in our faces, but the actual bone structure kind of goes down a little bit. But I also have scoliosis, and I used to have it much more severe, but I got it corrected. I go into a physical when I'm 12 years old, and the doctor tells me, yeah, you have an enormous curve in your spine. It's over 30 degrees. 30 is considered significant, and I had developed this big of a curve in the 1 or 2 years since I had got my last physical, because I didn't notice it before. And so I had to wear a plastic brace that basically pushed my rib cage off to one side to sort of, like if my spine is like this, push the rib cage over, straightens the spine a little bit. Still had a teensy bit of scoliosis while wearing it, but it was a lot more. It was more for the sake of maintenance, making sure that it didn't get any worse, because scoliosis without surgery cannot actually get any better. It can only be made worse, and all you can do is prevent it from getting any worse. So I wore that stupid plastic brace, and it caused a lot of social phobia and literal, like, physical discomfort. It was very hard to breathe in that thing. It was like wearing a girdle or a corset. I don't know. I don't know my Renaissance era clothing. But yeah, it was kind of a nightmare having to wear that thing. And, I tried to make fun of it. I would have people sometimes, because it was such hard plastic, I could lie on the ground and people could stand on my stomach, and I'd feel some pressure, but a lot of it would be absorbed by the plastic. Certainly people could not just stand on my stomach if I wasn't wearing it. And I'd tell people, hey, I'm totally numb from all these meds I took at the doctor's. Punch me in the stomach as hard as you can. And then they would, and then they just hurt their hand. So I would sort of draw attention to it, try to make the best of it, but there really was this feeling of, man, like, why am I the one who has to do this? Not a single other kid in my class, not a single other kid that I ever met had to wear a scoliosis brace. It just sucked. It just really, really sucked. And I tried to make compromises of like, maybe I'll only wear it while I sleep, but it's just any amount that I wore. It was just really, really frustrating. I could never wear it all through the night. I had a lot of arguments with my mom saying, I'm not going to wear it. Like, I have to get the surgery eventually anyway. I am not wearing this brace. And she was pretty adamant about, but you really should, it's in your best interest, and it probably was. I mean, maybe by the time that they actually did the surgery, my scoliosis wouldn't have been so bad. I just could not tolerate it. So, that's a story. Puberty, growing up, my body has this big curve in it, and so then it gets corrected, right? So my face is already kind of asymmetrical by this point. My whole body is. They straighten it out, but I still have a little bit of scoliosis even today, even with that corrective surgery. My left shoulder still is quite a bit higher than my right shoulder if you're paying attention to it. Not horribly so. Again, a lot of people can see me for a long time and never realize this. And also the onus is on me that, like, if my muscles get really stiff, this shoulder's way up higher and this one's way down lower. So got to make sure that I'm adequately doing my stretches, massaging myself, doing what I can to take care of this, sort of flawed body. But, I talked to a friend who's a physical therapist last week, and she said, she's always looking out for people who are who have postural issues, and she always notices them when she's in a public place or something like that. And she said, I really did not notice with you until I was actively looking for it. So that's really good to hear. She said, honestly, it's kind of a miracle that you can move around as well as you can. So, back to my face now. I get my spine straightened out when I'm 15 years old. They do a full spinal fusion. I can't tell you the exact specifics of how the process works, but there's a bunch of metal in my spine that is keeping my spine pretty straight. Not perfectly, but pretty straight. And I gained like 2 inches overnight. You can imagine there's like 2 inches in that giant flipping curve. By the time they did it, it was over 50 degrees. I'm happy my organs did not get crushed in the meantime. So because of that, because my spine is very, very straight, everybody always likes to tell me that I have great posture. I actually don't. I have flaws with my posture in different places from most people. Yes, my back is very, very straight when I'm sitting up. But to compensate for that, because remember, my spine cannot bend down, my shoulders and my head are fighting to come forward when I'm feeling lazy. When I lose that integrity in my body as the day wears on, the first thing to sloop forward is my shoulders and my head. So, I'm not going to stand up to show you right now, but basically my head was hanging forward, and has been since, I was 15. Probably before that, just from reading or using the computer and stuff like that, but even more extreme because the rest of my body couldn't slump. So my face was the big hanging forward kind of thing. And that actually affects your facial growth. I started getting really interested in this when I was really studying sort of the science of a well-composed, attractive face. Because I was having insecurity issues about it. When I was about 20 years old was when I first found out about this thing called orthotropics. They talk about placing your tongue up on the roof of your mouth. And especially when you're young and your face is still has a lot of active development to do, because it pushes your cheekbones up, pushes your whole face, gives it this big upward lift. I kind of wish that I had heard about that at the time. I don't know how much it would have helped because my head was going to hang regardless, but I'm trying my best these days to keep good tongue posture so you can do tongue strength exercises and stuff. But at this age, I've pretty much grown. My face is pretty much grown into what it's going to be. But again, preventative measures, I can keep it from getting any worse. I can keep, that's a lot of the reason why, my nose swoops to the side. When your face is going downward, it's sort of, because it doesn't have that integrity, it can kind of go, whoosh, it can go all lopsided. And I have a bad relationship with my face. Or at least I have. One more thing I want to point out is my teeth. You can notice that my rows of teeth, these ones are, again, kind of more downward, and this half kind of goes up more. I have pretty nice teeth in general, like at least like well-aligned teeth. They're not looking as white as they could these days. I'd like to use that crest whitening polish. But that's another thing I get kind of insecure about when I'm watching my videos, is that, you know, I got this nice little gap that almost parts it from like down here and up here teeth. It's just weird. Again, not in a judgmental way, but just objectively, I have a peculiar face. I have a very peculiar face. There aren't a lot of people who look like me, and that's a little bit hard to take sometimes. Because obviously, you want people to look like you. The whole reason we do, like, if you've ever looked up like there's some online like photo generators that you put in your photo and it like analyzes your face and it shows what celebrities you look like. The reason why is because celebrity, not always, but is pretty synonymous with attractive person. The reason why we're even interested in that is the first place is to say, hey, my face is salvageable in some way. I mean, look, I look like this dude. I look like this dude. And he's handsome. He's handsome enough to get a lead role. Yeah, so I started having my biggest insecurities about it. Sometimes I'd call myself ugly just sort of to spite myself throughout high school, but then, you know, most of the time I didn't really see anything that wrong with how I looked. When I was 18, I distinctly remember one time taking a selfie and looking at it and noticing that for the first time, that this eye was quite a bit higher than this eye. And freaking out. I was like, what? What? That's my face? And then I go through all my Facebook pictures, and every single one of them, like, holy heck, it's that way in that picture, and in that picture, and in that picture, and in that picture, and that picture, that picture. It's been this way this whole time, and nobody's ever said anything about it. What? What? It was like glass. I could hear glass shattering, like something just broke that was completely irreparable. Because I was never going to be the same, knowing that my face was asymmetrical. And I distinctly remember my mom saying, like, a few years prior, like, it's funny that, like, a lot of symmetry, or a lot of attractiveness, physical attractiveness, just comes down to symmetry. I was thinking, oh, that's weird. I mean, all our faces are symmetrical. No, they're not. And mine especially is not. So as soon as I realized that my face is asymmetrical, it just felt like the end of the world. It felt like there go my chances of being a physically attractive man. And for some reason, for some stinking reason, that's been really, really important to me for such a long time. I mean, bigger than other things, bigger than success or being well liked. It has felt almost at sometimes I could get the entire world to like me, but if none of those people want to be romantically involved with me, if none of those people are physically attracted to me, then it means nothing. It's not even worth it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it what you accomplish in this world. So, hey, Gandhi, because you're skinny and shriveled, it doesn't matter what you accomplished. You're still ugly. Abraham Lincoln, your beard is too bushy, so I'm sorry. Your accomplishments mean nothing. Stephen Hawking, I mean, I want to tread lightly here because I don't want to come across as insulting because of somebody's ALS. But let me tell you, it didn't do any favors for your physical appearance, so those don't count. Of course, all those things are ridiculous to say. Of course, all those things are ridiculous to say. This world, we're not going to remember who was the hottest. We're going to remember who did the best, who accomplished the most. Who built the best relationships, who made the most meaningful impact in other people's lives. We're not necessarily going to remember, oh my goodness, you were just gorgeous. At least we're not going to remember that first. It's just something I really wished that I could just have. Because in some ways, life is a lot easier when you are conventionally beautiful. Studies have shown that people who are attractive tend to make better money. They tend to get paid more in their jobs. They probably have more opportunities, stronger social circles, which means more support. We tend to join friend groups that are more or less the same attractiveness level as we are. So you got all this tribe of other attractive people that build more connections, have more fulfilling social lives a lot of the time. Again, asterisks on all these, there are exceptions to all these rules, but it's just really what it felt like. And on social media, I got really, really big in my Facebook over high school days. It's just funny how obsessed I used to be with, my status. My status, I don't mean like post status, but that's just a funny little coincidence in wording. I remember like how into Facebook I was, and I established myself as the funny guy. I really, really wanted to make sure that my Facebook was hilarious, because it could make up for, how not beautiful I was, or how not beautiful I saw myself to be. And then every once in a while, so I would post, haha, funny thing, 50 likes, funny thing, 80 likes, funny thing, whoa, over 100 likes sometimes. And then I would post maybe just one-off, a picture of me just smiling, this is a picture where I think I look pretty good. And it wouldn't ever do as well as the stuff where my intent was clearly just to be funny and creative. And that was really depressing, because you'd see popular kids in school post a picture of themselves, not even a good picture, they just took a crappy phone selfie in the bathroom or something, back when our phones had like half a megapixel, maybe never that low, but not nearly as good a quality as phones have these days. And that picture automatically gets, as many likes as a post that I worked really hard on thinking of, like, this is funny, or a picture that I took a lot of really funny staged pictures. Like, I worked so hard on this picture and it got as many likes as this photo that you put no effort into, because you don't have to put effort into your photos or your statuses when you are beautiful. I keep jumping back and forth between adopting a little bit of that mindset. I hope I'm making it clear that I've kind of grown and I've matured past this a little bit. But of course, when I think about, my struggles in the past, it's hard not to revert to that mindset a little bit. Yeah, I just wanted so badly just to be beautiful. I wanted to be called hot. I wanted to be called cute, handsome. I wanted all the things. I wanted girls to see me and just immediately swoon. I wanted there to be nobody that I would even consider was like out of my league. And it really affected for a few years, and sometimes it even still does a little bit. It affects my ability to be friends with other men. If I think that you are more objectively handsome than I am, then it is very hard, yeah, I mean, it used to be, I'll say, if it used to be impossible, now it's just kind of difficult for me. It's really hard for me to not look past that teensy bit of jealousy that, like, hey, you're prettier than I am. Even if you're a great person, even if you are a fantastic person, it's really been a struggle in my life to look past that and just let you actually be my friend, let you into my world. I honestly think that with jealousy, the best thing that I can do if I'm jealous of somebody and I also like them, I want to be friends with them, is to just tell them, hey, I'm jealous of you. I think that you are hotter than I am. I am intimidated by you in that regard. And then I can move past that and say, maybe not necessarily to them, but like to myself as well. Okay, so over here, cool, point on the board for them. They're hotter than you are. Over here on the board for you, maybe you're more talented than they are. I try not to get into the cockiness level, because I can sometimes convince myself I'm literally more talented than anybody on the entire planet. But hey, maybe I could put that on the board. Maybe I could say, I don't know, I have a college degree and they don't, and then after a while you start to realize that the whole comparison thing is kind of crap and you just smear the blackboard completely. Get rid of all the points. We're all just at ground zero, just doing our best. But it really does help me to just be straightforward. Hey, I'm jealous of your looks, and sometimes I wish I looked more like you. It helps. It really, really helps me, just to be honest with people like that. And if we're on good terms already, people are always like, oh, huh, well, they might think it's kind of weird, but people don't get too defensive if I've already sort of established rapport with them. And then honestly, they usually come back with, well, hey, I'm jealous of you because XYZ reason. There was a time though, let me see. Where am I in this? I'm trying to tell a chronological story, but I'm sort of hopping all over the place. Oh, okay, let me get into one aspect of this whole adventure. So for those 3 years where I think that I'm just like absolutely disgusting, I have a girlfriend. Yeah. Like pretty shortly after I decided that I was ugly, I got a girlfriend. And it kind of calmed down those feelings a little bit. Not entirely. Sometimes we'd watch movies like near the beginning of our relationship. I had like Zac Efron or some other classically beautiful person in them. Ooh, burped a little bit. Shouldn't have had that second LaCroix. I'm kidding. LaCroix, no. I drink Polar. So we'd watch a movie or something and she'd just be like, oh wow, he's hot. And of course, like, she's allowed to say that. I wanted to feel like I was allowed to say, oh wow, Jennifer Lawrence is really pretty or something like that. It was like 2013. And I would just be like, I would kind of clench my fist a little bit. I would be like, you being attracted to somebody else. And I'm looking at him and like, what is so great about him? Huh? Or if there is something so great, why can't I look like it? It would just stir this pot of insecure emotions. And as you can imagine, that got worse. And as you can imagine, with it getting worse, those are not emotions that are very conducive to a healthy relationship. And it was below the surface. I wouldn't just straight talk to her about it until the feelings were really bad, when they'd come out in these explosive rants. But I really thought that I was really, really ugly. Throughout our entire relationship, I thought that I was really, really ugly. And by the time that we got to junior year, I was an RA. Junior year of college, I was an RA. And I was in this building called, I don't want to say the name of it. I don't want to say the name of my alma mater just right now. Maybe sometime in the future. I was an RA in this building that was full of really rich kids. And I can just speak to what I've observed. I think it really proves the point that the the better looking you are, the more able you are to make really good money. Because these kids had wealthy parents that passed down their good genetics. All these kids, all of the people pretty much living on my floor, at least, maybe throughout the whole building, I wasn't paying as close attention to those people. All of these students were just gorgeous. They looked like they were GQ models or, Disney Channel stars. It was just really, really hard to be living amongst that when I had such terrible feelings about myself. And again, it's not like I can put it on them. I kind of, there were some things that, any college freshman is going to do that really annoys you. They break rules and stuff. They make your job hard. But in some ways, how beautiful they were just added to my resentment of them. Some days it was hatred. I was like, yeah, life is going to be real easy for you, and you're going to be able to just do whatever you want to because you are so stinking beautiful, you jerks. Either that or the flip side, the hardcore denial. You're not even that good looking, dude. Get over yourself. Come on. The only times I ever feel the need to say, oh, well, he's not that attractive, is when I'm feeling bad about how I look. That's literally the only time. I've literally never done that when I felt good about myself. It's almost by definition that when you're criticizing something, you're really, really unhappy. So, and honestly, I didn't notice that until I didn't have the capability to observe that in myself until this one year. I was working at this summer camp, and there was one counselor that got a lot of praise from a lot of guys for she was really pretty. And I heard a group of other girls saying, like, I don't get why every guy is crushing on her. She's not that pretty. And I'm like, oh, you're jealous. Oh, okay. But somehow I was not able to reflect and see that in myself. Isn't that just classic? Pointing the finger out at the world and you don't notice the three fingers that are pointing back at you. So, well, I didn't know that I had a maximum recording time. That throws a bit of a wrench in things, doesn't it? It's okay though, because I can just post again. No, it's okay. Wow, that is kind of a learning experience though. I didn't realize I had a maximum filming time on this darn thing. Well, so that means that all my vlogs going forward, I'm going to film 2 videos, put them right next to each other, and then, yeah, I'll put them right next to each other, and that will make it an hour-long video. Huh. Okay. I just did the lip thing that you ever see that video of that ice cream taster saying, like, grabbing up that top note, that cream, pure vanilla. If you haven't, look up the video. That's a 10. It's pretty great. So yeah, where did I leave off? I was an RA with all these beautiful kids and feeling horrible about myself. Like, I thought I was ugly for freshman year of college and sophomore year of college. Again, even though I had a girlfriend, I'll get to that in a second, but even though I had a girlfriend, I still thought that I was very ugly. Junior year, being among this sea of beautiful people, I decided that I wasn't ugly. I was the ugliest person in the entire world. And that's not even an exaggeration. That's not even something that, like, oh gosh, I'm hungrier than anyone on the planet right now. Like, I don't say that out of jest. That was a real thing that I believed about myself. I believed, Joe, listen to me right now. There is not a single person on the planet that is less appealing to look at than you are. You are that ugly. You are that deformed and disgusting. And because of that, you're unlovable. So I was just a bundle of joy throughout most of college, as you could probably tell. And, I mean, among other things, like, I was pretty well accomplished and well liked by the people I was around in college. And, like, even if I was as bad looking as I said I was, it apparently didn't stop any of these people from being intrigued by me, from being compelled to talk to me, and it didn't stop girls from being attracted to me. But of course, what can your brain do? What does it do? What does it do? It discounts the positive. Any friends that I had, oh, well, I'm the ugliest in this friend group, so, I mean, they're friends with me, but, I mean, it probably just makes them feel good about myself to keep me around, about themselves to keep me around, you know, I'm the ugly friend. That movie, The Duff. Or the girls that have been attracted to me. I dated 2 girls before my really long 3-year relationship that's been going on throughout college, you know. And I'm like, oh, well, those girls didn't really like me all that much. You know, both of them broke up with me. Those relationships didn't last super long. I mean, they were high school relationships, but yeah, so those ones don't count. I mean, they probably realized that they were way out of my league anyway. They were too beautiful for me. And this girl, yeah, she really likes me, but... And this is where it sucks, is that sometimes I would use my own the only way that I could justify my own self-esteem being so low is that I would have to say, like, well, yeah, I'm in this relationship with this girl and I love her and she's great, but she's not this other person. I could only focus on the people that didn't want me. So somehow I would make my girlfriend not good enough. And that just stinks. It really makes me feel horrible saying that, because she's a wonderful person, and you know, it didn't work out for us. Partly because, I mean, man, my own insecurity was so bad that, like, as soon as I heard wind of, like, another girl is interested in me, I had to prove to myself that I was desirable by following some new opportunities, which is stupid. I tore down. I don't want to go into too great a detail, but basically, I felt so bad about myself. I thought I was just so ugly and undesirable that, like, as soon as some people started to find me attractive, besides my one girl that I had been with for those few years, I was like, well, I got to use that freedom, because I'm never going to get it back. They're going to come to their senses and realize that I'm super ugly. So, yeah. So in a way, my own insecurity about my physical appearance, my own relationship with this face, it made me end my 3-year relationship. That sometimes I think if, like, XYZ thing had been different in those circumstances, we could still be together today. I don't necessarily know. I mean, no couple is perfect. I don't know what would have come along. I don't know how we would have felt about the other's life choices and stuff. There's a lot more that goes into it. But yeah, we had really thought that this was gonna be a forever thing, and man, it sucks when something that just, like, it has so much to do with just how much you hate yourself. You start doing other things to make other people hate you, and you just want to explain to everybody, like, that you hurt. Like, no, you don't get it. It's only because I really don't like myself. That has nothing to do with you, really. It's all just from this terrible place of insecurity that I am. But, I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many justifications you can have for doing something that hurts somebody. You still really, really hurt them, and, like, you're going to have to deal with those consequences. And, you know, the consequences in this case was we tried to do a friend thing, and it just didn't work. And, like, we haven't talked to each other in years. My face, man. My face. And even still, I mean, the reason why I just want to talk about this now is because I feel like my face is what really keeps me from uploading on YouTube. I really, really do. I really think that I could post a lot more often if I was just more happy with this. And I know everybody's insecure about their appearance, even people that are very conventionally attractive. I'm sure that if I had a million subscribers or something, I get people posting down below, you're not even ugly. Or, like, other people saying, like, you just know that people are going to disagree with you. And, you know, that might be true. Maybe there is a part of me that sometimes wonders, maybe when I call myself ugly, I just want people to disagree. But I also feel comfortable when people disagree. When I'm talking about this, you know, and they immediately kind of just try to change my mind. You're like, what are you talking about? You're handsome. And there are features about myself that I like. I mean, my hair is pretty great. My hair is pretty great. When I chew gum for a long day and do some face exercises, I think that my jawline is pretty solid. Even though it's downward sloping, it's defined, you know? Especially when I got a little bit of facial hair, you know, just, like, tightens up the edges. See, I've become able to notice what's good about my features. My eyes are the color. It's beautiful. Yeah, there's some good stuff. There's some real good stuff. But it's just, you know, it's very all or nothing. It's either I'm cover of GQ or I belong in the dumpster. There's no in between of, like, okay, maybe some people will find you attractive and maybe some people won't. Maybe some people will get repulsed by you and maybe some, like, well, I don't want to get into disgusting detail, but maybe they'll look at your pictures while they're doing some other activity. You know what I'm saying? Your mind really bullies you when you're feeling bad. And I've really gotten a lot better. I've gotten a much better relationship with this face. But it's still not great, and there are still holes, and there are still long stretches of time where I just tell myself, you know, you think that you've made all this progress since, you know, all that time in college when you call yourself the ugliest person in the world, which you were, and you haven't made any progress. You actually are just the ugliest person in the world. But it lasts for much smaller periods of time. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the exception, not the rule anymore. Yeah, but it is just weird. Like, I can somehow, but I still find myself discounting. You know, since that relationship, I've had other girlfriends. You know, I've seen other people, and my brain can somehow still discount that. Yeah, but those girls were not like, I mean, they're not movie star looking girls. You can maybe attract some really lame girls who have terrible taste. But I mean, even those girls, like, they wouldn't like you if they spent too long. There's a fear that, like, one day people are just going to look at me at exactly the wrong angle, and they're going to have that same awful realization that I did when I was 18 years old, and they're just going to think, like, oh God, like, I don't ever want to see that again now that I noticed, like, these little flaws. And that's another thing. People don't notice your flaws nearly as much as you do. Even your worst critics do not know the contours of your face as well as you do. Oh, I'm going to post something on Instagram. I thought it would be fun to have this little, I wanted to post it pretty much at exactly 5. So I'm going to post this. But just to finish off that point, sometimes I'll point out to people, like, that my face is pretty asymmetrical, or like I got a gap between my teeth, or my ears are pretty big. And they'll, or like I got these like wrinkles in my forehead right here. And they'll be like, oh, I never noticed that. And it doesn't change how I feel about you at all. I'm like, how? How? Those little details feel like the whole world to me. No, they don't feel like the whole world. They feel like the whole universe to me. And you don't notice them. And you say that it's not going to be a big deal moving forward now that you do notice them. What? What's wrong with you? And of course, people that do feel the need to point that stuff out, again, what's the reason that they do that? Gonna give you a little timer here. 5, 4. It's because they're horribly insecure themselves. It's because they hate themselves, and so they're doing something to make you feel as bad as they do. I mean, that's a lot of criticism in general. But it's just, it's one that people's words to you where they point out those little things, they only hurt because you think that they're true. My mom loves to use this analogy of, like, if somebody said to you, I hate your purple hair, it looks gross and stupid, and it's just awful. But you don't have purple hair, is that going to hurt your feelings? No, you're going to say that person's just out of their mind. If I could have the belief that, like, this stuff is all okay, which I'm working toward, I'm getting there, it'll probably be a struggle for the rest of my life. But I'm working toward that. If I could be totally okay with everything about my face, then somebody else telling me that, you know, your nose is weirdly shaped, I'd just let it roll off. I'd let it roll off as much as somebody telling me, like, I don't like that you're Swedish. Okay, well, I'm not Swedish, so sorry that you're getting so worked up about something that's imaginary. Okay, I'm going to post it. List 10 things that make you really happy. 1. Performing of any kind, bringing my presence before the world. 2. Making wacky art that defies and might even insult expectations. 3. Long aimless walks with people who put up with me. 4. Relaxation exercises that show their effects in the short and long term. 5. Driving around with shades on while chewing gum and feeling cool. 6. When resolution and peace is found with someone I love. 7. Reminiscing on old times and marking how much we've grown. 8. A twist in a story that I didn't see coming. 9. Looking at my bank account after a month of frugality. 10. Nature, 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 nature. I'm doing this 30-day thing, and as well as this challenge, I get on a real addiction to challenges, to daily things that I'm supposed to do for a certain period of time. Every day in September, I'm going to do a little journal blog entry publicly on Facebook and post some picture that kind of has to do with it. Today's picture is going to be, one second. It's going to be this, oh goodness, come on. This picture of me as a little boy, One-eyed darling. Yeah. I feel pretty okay with this most of the time these days. Sometimes, God forbid, oh God, is it safe to say this out loud? Sometimes I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, you look really good. Wow. I asked some girls recently that I was hanging out with, both attractive girls. I was like, with both of them, I was like, what do you like to be called more than anything in terms of like your appearance? And is there anything that turns you off? I mean, out of all that swarm of like beautiful, pretty, hot stuff like that, like what do you identify with? And one of the, they gave their specific things, and one of them said like she hates being called cute because she feels like that's the only thing that she ever gets. I'm like, interesting. I wonder, like, we're never gonna be okay with what we have. Our ego isn't, at least. So if I was called cute a million times by now, it'd probably be white noise and I wouldn't think anything of it. I would just not like it all that much. I'd probably be like, man, why don't people call me cute all the time, but why don't people call me hot? And the other girl said like she really likes being told specifically that her face is pretty. And it was just interesting. She said like because she just doesn't feel like it is, and she's a very conventionally attractive girl. It's just really interesting to hear these perspectives from other people. And I told them, yeah, I really don't. It's hard for me to take cute or hot these days because I didn't get into too great a depth with them, but I told them but one girl was like, what about handsome? It's like, I don't know. I mean, maybe. And they were like, yeah, I mean, I think handsome is a good descriptor if I'm going to say, if I'm going to compliment your appearance. I think handsome fits the best. I was like, really? Because I feel like if anything, I'm sort of, if I'm any kind of attractive, I'm like Jim from The Office attractive. Like I'm a guy that you could just see in your day-to-day, and there's nothing that spectacular about him. And another girl was like, no, I see you more in like a sort of Brad Pitt sort of way. And she said that I was pretty influenced by the fact that I'm an actor. I can be kind of stoic. But it was just cool. I'm not saying that I'm as attractive as Brad Pitt, because I don't believe that, but it's just interesting hearing that kind of perspective. In my worst days this year, if somebody told me Brad Pitt, I'd be like, what? I used to get legitimately mad at my 3-year relationship for, calling me things like that. I would be like, shut up. Yeah, and it was kind of in jest and sarcasm, but not really. We had kind of a problem with that. I mean, all my relationships are probably going to have a little bit of a problem with that because I'm a facetious, humorous dude. So the line between like, oh yeah, that was a joke, oh no, it's not, is always going to be kind of a big blend. All sort of mushed together. I will say that one descriptor that I've become a lot happier with, I guess, sexy. I think sexy is a lot easier for me to own, which is somebody on the outside might say that like, shouldn't handsome be easier for me to adopt into my self-image than sexy? No, I like sexy. I like sexy a lot, and it's very much influenced by the movie School of Rock. Jack Black has this scene where he's talking to this girl who's insecure. She's like, I don't want to go on stage because I'm fat, and he's like, look, you have an amazing singing voice. And like Aretha Franklin's a big lady, but when she starts singing, she blows everybody's minds and they all want to party with her. And he says, and who else has a weight problem? Me. But once I get on stage, people worship me. He goes, because I'm sexy. And just the way that he puts it, like me as a straight man that doesn't want to interact with Jack Black in any way sexual. I'm like, yeah, man, you are sexy. Because I think sexy is much more an internal thing. It's more an emotional thing. And I mean, that in turn becomes a way that you project yourself onto people. I can own sexy. I saw a list a long time ago of like the sexiest ugly people. I think calling anybody ugly, and I'll get to that maybe in a second, is its own problem. I think that ugly is maybe just not a word that necessarily needs to be in our vernacular. But the fact that you could be like and it was people like John C. Reilly and Steve Buscemi and Danny Trejo, and I totally got it with all of them. It's like, yeah. No, none of them are cover of GQ gorgeous. But I can totally get what's intriguing about a lot of those people. And I love when I read YouTube comments that say something like, I'm so attracted to this man and I don't know why. And maybe it's easier for women to say that about men. I honestly don't know. I don't have a woman's brain. I can't take a woman's, or rather, I'm a heterosexual man. I can't take a different orientation and put it inside my brain for a little bit to really understand why. I can't put different hormones in my body, you know, all the like. But, yeah, no, I think I don't have a problem calling myself sexy. Because, I mean, part of that is because sexy is so tied into, ambition and talent and accomplishment, and I consider myself a very, very talented person, and I've accomplished, sometimes it doesn't feel like much on my worst days, but I really have accomplished a lot in my life, and that's pretty cool. It gives me some feeling of status, like I'm pretty rockin', like I'm doing something right, man. Like there's no way that people can look at like my whole picture and just not see anything to be attracted to. Even if they don't necessarily want to marry me, like, I can get how I can be attractive more now. I can understand how somebody would be interested in me, which is light years beyond what I could have said about myself like 5 years ago. Yeah. I can be sexy. You can call me cute or handsome or hot or, I don't know, dapper, anything. And maybe I'll be willing to accept those on some days. But I really, really like sexy because it's not specifically about your bone structure. It's not about your darn skull. It feels ridiculous picking this apart and going to like the finer details of it. It feels like I'm picking through little grains of sand, but that's really what it takes sometimes to get me to reorient how I view attraction and love and magnetism. Magnets, how do they work? How do they work? But yeah, I think that maybe, I mean, in an ideal world, ugly just kind of goes away from the human vernacular, not necessarily for any moral reason. I saw a video by T1J. It was a very old video. It was right when I started watching him. It was back in like 2013. I haven't watched him in a good while, but he really has some great videos. And this video was called On Being Pretty, and it was a response to another woman's video, Kara Kamos, who honestly has a very good video about similar to what I'm talking about called On Being Ugly. And in T1J's response to her, he says, you know, I have a really hard time calling anybody ugly. It's hard to, it's just kind of a strong word, he says. He says, I use ugly to describe like made-up witches or if somebody's intentionally making an ugly face. But somebody just being ugly all on their own, I'm not sure that it's possible. And as Kara pointed out, there's something really sexy just about being alive, having life force and breathing, and having the ability to do stuff. And if you don't let your looks inhibit you from doing stuff, then your looks kind of just become irrelevant, both to you and to the people around you. They start seeing a lot of great stuff in you. And I just need to remind myself, like, that's good enough for people. And that should be good enough for you. My inspirations are not always the most gorgeous people in the world. I have the power to inspire people if I really put my mind to it and I really put myself out there enough. I could be the reason that somebody makes a change in their life that they needed to. I could say something that really triggers this ongoing unfolding of ideas that really changes somebody's life if I just share them. But I have to be in front of a camera a lot of the time to do those things. Or I at least have to be in some sort of public eye. And I gotta be able to just accept that. Because that's the only way I'm gonna accomplish anything good. So no, I'm not ugly. And you're not ugly, person watching. I don't care how unusual facial features you have. I don't care how much you like compare. I heard Actualized Leo talk about like, stop comparing your worst features to other people's best features. I don't care how much better Brad Pitt's jawline is, or how much better Kate Beckinsale's nose is than yours. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Whew. I'm gonna do a little cool down session. I feel like I've really exhausted what I've had to say about this face. In conclusion, I got a face that I haven't always had the best relationship with because I thought it was weird and ugly and gross. But now I am pretty okay with it most of the time because it's uniquely mine and it's attached to a person that's pretty stinking cool. And a guy that's sexy. Ooh, I'm really nervous about this Instagram challenge that I'm doing because I get really focused on the likes. I mean, who doesn't? Who doesn't? I get really focused on the likes a lot of the time, and that's unfortunate when I do that because it really keeps me from expressing myself in the way that I want to. And in fact, it makes me express myself in a way that I don't want to. Okay, well, better just post like the stuff that I already know my friends are gonna like. I want to post consistently enough that people just understand, okay, that's what Joe does. I want to post consistently stuff that people don't necessarily always love. I want, to be able to post. I want to be able to post a picture that gets absolutely 0 likes. People see it, but it doesn't get any likes at all. And be okay with that. Because that was what I wanted to say. That was how I wanted to express myself. Will I ever get there? Who the flip knows? But it helps when I do these little challenges where I post every day and it's more focused on the caption, the content of what I'm saying, than like the actual like photo and how, it's really hard to define. Maybe I'll try to do it in the future, but there's stuff that you just know is like social gold, social media gold. Before you post it, and there's some stuff that you're not so sure about, and usually if you're not so sure about it, it means it's not as gold to most people. It's like bronze, but it's gold to me, and that's what matters. I got my own little nuggets of gold, and I'm showing them all to you. So I am excited. I am excited to see, like, by the end of 30 days, all the ideas that come out of me. So I'm posting once every day, and I'm trying to keep it about 100 words per post. And so far, I've done like 6 or 7 days in advance, and it's brought some really interesting ideas out of me, and I'm excited to see what more come out of me. So that should be cool. I don't remember the maximum filming time. It was right around 30 minutes, but it was a little bit less. So at most, we got 3 minutes left. But this actually felt, guys, I can do this. I can vlog for an hour. I can sit in front of the camera and talk haphazardly for an hour. And honestly, I feel better. I feel better than when I've been posting my like couple-minute videos. Sure, there's going to be days when I run out of things to say pretty quickly and have to scramble for a topic. It's an hour. I'll find other ways to fill that though. On standby, I had my MacBook with some public domain music ready to play if I wanted to just sit here and just let you enjoy that, maybe do a little sit and dance. I also have a whiteboard with some markers. I might want to draw a pretty picture one of these days. I also, right over there, behind this camera and these lights, I got some books. I got some really spectacular books. If I run out of my own great words to say, I can go over there and find somebody else's and maybe introduce you to some ideas you'd never thought of before. And of course, like everybody, I've read every single book that's on that shelf, so I'll already know exactly what I'm about to read to you every single time. What if we actually had, what if everybody had actually read every single book that was on their shelf? How much smarter as a nation would we be? Or as a collective globe? It's depressing that we're a country that can actually afford to keep a stock of books, and yet most of us have not read like a tenth of the ones that we actually have. Including myself. That was sarcasm before. Well, I'm feeling better, at least at the moment, about putting this face out for the world to see. And there's not a single comment that can bring me down now. So don't even try. Don't even try to point out things that you don't like about how it looks, because it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Seriously, please don't. But just don't. Just because you don't need to. Whew! All right, I'm going to go to acting class pretty shortly. I'll try really hard not to honor the likes on that Instagram picture. I'll drink some more water because I've really overdone it with my voice this evening. And yeah.